Court voids Lava Jato actions against businessman due to collusion between Moro and the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office. The judge acknowledged the improper conduct between Moro and members of the Federal Public Prosecutor's Office, stating that the collusion between the prosecution and the former judge had already been recognized by the Federal Supreme Court. Regarding the police operations launched against the former Workers' Party treasurer, João Vorcaro Neto, just like Vorcaro Neto, Guilherme Esteves de Jesus also had the case against him dismissed. And I ask you, why isn't Sérgio Moro in jail? No, it's okay. It's okay. Let's be calm. Why isn't Sérgio Moro facing criminal charges for all the fraud in Operation Car Wash that he and Deltan Dallagnol, among others, committed? For witness coercion, for psychological torture against those interrogated, for a series of situations from that car wash farce. Why hasn't Sérgio Moro been held accountable for his crimes to this day? Nor has Deltan Dallagnol, the ineligible one. I mention this because he went to court to stop us from talking about it. So we have to say it. Deltan Dallagnol is ineligible. You can put that out there. Because he's lying to people saying he's going to run for office now. How is he going to run if he's ineligible? Then he went to court to stop people from saying he's ineligible. Deltan Dallagnol, the ineligible one. Impeached and ineligible. Along with Sérgio Moro, why hasn't Sérgio Moro been impeached yet? Why is he still a senator and there's been no accountability for the crooked judge? There are things I just don't understand. I'm in the legal field and I don't understand. Imagine if you're not in the legal field. Can someone explain what kind of protection this is? What kind of shamelessness is this? No. So everything they did fell apart. They're void. Why? It wasn't a judicial process. It was surrounded by oppressors, and they wanted to create situations that never existed. Deltan Dallagnol and Sérgio Moro especially. At least Deltan Dallagnol was removed from office and is now ineligible. And Sérgio Moro, who is a senator, soon he will win the election for governor of Paraná. As my dear friend Rui Barbosa used to say, delayed justice is actually a grave injustice. That's exactly what this is. Look, this guy here should be in jail, answering for his crimes, for the biggest procedural fraud in Brazil. And is that just going to be it? If that's all, there will be another fraud soon. Right, Andre? Mendonça doesn't do anything. Nothing happens to the judge. Nothing happens to the one deciding the case. Let's commit procedural fraud. Right, André Mendonça? For God's sake, people, I always explain the pedagogical aspect to you. It's very important. Very important. If you don't humiliate the criminal, they'll do it again. There's the pedagogical aspect of the punishment, to re-socialize, to change, to transform their life. If there's no justice, they'll do it again. And the cycle repeats itself. Did you understand? Did you get the code? Get the code, get the code. I'm reading. Marcia, the defense attorney for the former president of BRB, accuses the prosecutor general's office of blocking the plea bargain and requests release. The lawyer argues that Paulo Henrique Costa, who has been in jail since April and is suspected of receiving bribes from Daniel Vorcaro, has been trying to cooperate with the justice system. This one apparently is the same modus operandi, which is to sweet-talk the federal police and the prosecutor general's office. This is Paulo Henrique, former president of BRB, ally and close confidant of the former governor of the federal district, Ibanez Rocha. By the way, where is Ibanez Rocha? Where is the federal police breathing down Ibanez Rocha's neck? And by the way, where are all the Bolsonaro supporters? Where is Claudio Castro, the former governor of Rio de Janeiro? Where is the police breathing down Claudio's neck? Where is Claudio? Anyway, this one here wants to make a plea bargain. But from what it looks like, he just wants to stall. Because the Attorney General's office looks at him like this and goes, The federal police look and say, So, my dear, it's because he wants to sweet talk them, and trying to sweet talk the police and the Attorney General's office won't work. Either he really spills the beans or he's going to get in trouble. By the way, can I say something? They're in trouble either way. And he wants to spill the beans. He'll have to say who his boss is. Besides Daniel Vorcaro, obviously. Who I suspect is Ibanez Rocha, former governor of the federal district. If not, there's no need for a plea bargain. The federal police will find out everything that the federal police has already found. They only unlocked Daniel Vorcaro's cell phones out of the 9. And today they said they managed to unlock the second one. So there's no need for a plea bargain. If it's just a plea bargain for show, just talk, to fool people and try to sugarcoat things, then no one will want it really. And they're right not to want it. Because for God's sake, everyone is fed up with empty talk. With small talk, everyone is sick and tired of it. What do we want? Solutions, conclusions, and consequently operations. That's what we want. And to know the truth, because the election is coming. We want to know who's a criminal and who isn't. So we don't vote for the disgraceful ones. Oh Lord, oh Jesus. Let's check out some protests. Please go ahead and hit the like button.
And President Alcolumbre, stop messing with our livelihoods. Put the end of the 6 days on, 1 day off schedule up for a vote, folks. It's stuck there in the Senate. The House of Representatives has already approved a 5 days on, 2 days off work schedule. 5 days of work, 2 days of rest, no salary reduction, 40 hours a week. Brazil already produces enough to make this possible, and our workers can indeed have 2 days of rest to spend time with their family, to culture, to education, to leisure, to soccer. In short, folks, to live better. Now we need to put pressure on the Senate. This can't be left sitting there. President Lula is eager to see Brazil now with the 5x2 work schedule. So let's go. Get mobilized on social media, on the streets, in the struggle. Talk to your friends and put pressure on the federal Senate. Come on, Alcolumbre. Put it up for a vote. Senators, we're watching you, okay? It's always a struggle, folks.
Davi Alcolumbre is in trouble, right? The plea bargain of Daniel Vorcaro. He thought he could sweet-talk the Prosecutor General's office and the federal police. Then he said he really did pay bribes to Davi Alcolumbre, 155 million to Davi Alcolumbre, and a few million to Ciro Nogueira. But it wasn't enough. There are more situations, right? And you know that today the federal police are out on the streets. More than 50 officers are in an operation. Regarding Bishop Adir Macedo's bank from the Universal Church, 670 million reais have already been frozen. And he did more or less the same thing that Daniel Vorcaro did, which was pretending to have credit, to be solvent, to have money in the bank. But in reality, it was all rotten just to be able to investigate investments, more accounts, and so on and so forth, covering up the whole scheme of bankruptcy where they got even richer. And soon, the ones who would end up with the losses were the clients and everyone who invested in the bank. And this scheme was exposed today. Pastor Henrique Vieira talked a little about this situation. Shall we check out what he said? Hit the like button.
About Bishop and banker Adir Macedo, the federal police have just conducted an investigation against Digimais Bank, which is controlled by Adir Macedo, bishop and banker. The investigation points to evidence of crimes against the national financial system, fraud and accounting, aiming to cover up the bank's situation. A practice similar to what was done by Master Bank, owned by Daniel Vorcaro. More than 600 million reais were frozen at this stage of the investigation. By the way, it's very dangerous when religious leaders become bankers. We recently saw the case of the Clava Forte Bank, a digital bank created by leaders of the Lagoinha Baptist Church, by Andre Valadão, who also has a historical relationship with Daniel Vorcaro. Attention everyone, when religious leaders start controlling banks, the power of state oversight must be reinforced. I want to make it very clear here. Religious freedom is a fundamental right. Long live the sacred faith of our people and the religious diversity of our country. This is something that must be protected. Another thing that requires attention is when religious leaders build economic, business, and financial empires, and investigations point to the risk of fraud. Our office has already introduced a bill to increase the mechanisms of control, regulation, and oversight of financial institutions directly or indirectly linked to religious institutions. Because in our view, it's dangerous when the church mixes with the financial system and the state needs to double its oversight power. Religious freedom, yes. The sacred faith of our people, yes. The church turning into a deal-making operation, no. So you can count on us in that regard. Yeah, you have to investigate the banker and bishop, Edir Macedo. Warm regards.
Yeah, if there's something shady, if there's a crime, they have to answer for it, right, guys? And I've already said religious entities still have tax immunity in Brazil regarding taxes. That's why wherever there are big criminal organizations, there will always be a religious entity, unfortunately. What for, Andrea Gonzalez? To launder money without having to pay government levies, especially taxes, because our constitution grants immunity from taxes to all houses of worship. And this ends up turning religious temples, not all of them, I'm talking about those that are criminal, okay? I believe that most of them aren't, obviously, but it ends up turning these religious entities into tax havens within Brazilian territory itself. Where they are collected, they get into the scheme to launder the money and still don't pay taxes on that money. All based on a false appearance of what? That the money belongs to the church, that the money comes from the faithful, from tithes and offerings. But in reality, it's from the Comando Vermelho, it's from the PCC, it's from Vorcaro, it's from criminal organizations, it's from the movie, right? Who knows? Soon we'll find out that a church, you can be sure what I'm saying here, folks, is as clear as the light that's right here in front of me. Soon we'll find out which religious entity is involved in Bolsonaro's movie. Why? Because it's a tax haven inside Brazil to launder money and not pay taxes. Unfortunately, I want to emphasize that the vast majority of religious entities really, I believe this, are there seeking God, they're seeking to worship God. But unfortunately, there are those who turn the pulpit of worship into real political platforms. Even bringing on Holy Communion Day, right, Silas Malafaia, criminals into a service to worship God. And unfortunately, this exists and we need to talk about it. And meanwhile, look here. Tarcísio authorized Edir Macedo's Digimize to offer payroll loans to the São Paulo military police. More than 50 federal police officers carried out court orders, including against the bishop who controls the bank. So you can be sure that we're going to see a lot of that, right? Bolsonaro supporters will soon turn out to be involved in this too, because it's a lot of money. Where there's a lot of money, there are a lot of thieves. And the biggest thieves, unfortunately, today in Brazil, we have to say that one of the biggest thieves we have today in Brazil is Daniel Vorcaro and his criminal organization, which from all indications, the Bolsonaro family is involved up to their necks. Let's understand this a little more.
These major search and seizure warrants are orders from the federal court here in São Paulo in this investigation that resulted in the operation that's happening on the streets today, Operation Mirage, an investigation by me and our colleague Isabella Leite. At this moment, the police are at several locations, for example, here in the south zone of the city of São Paulo, the capital of São Paulo state, such as the headquarters of Digimais Bank, which is located in the Cidade de Emoções neighborhood, and also at the brokerage. This brokerage is called ID. This brokerage is the main operator for Digimais Bank. From what I discussed with the investigators, what this is about, you already mentioned it, Matthias, but just to explain, a series of fraudulent balance sheets, and based on these balance sheets, according to the investigation, CDBs were issued, some financial notes were issued based on that, and this ended up generating profits to Digimais Bank, which is controlled by a holding company owned by Edir Macedo himself. Edir Macedo is under investigation in today's Operation Mirage. Today, for example, there is no seizure of assets or blocking of any of his personal assets. But according to the investigators, his status, his condition is that he is under investigation because he is the owner of the holding company that controls Digimai's bank. Just to give some context, Digimais is currently involved in negotiations, or at least was until recently, regarding its sale or transfer to BTG Bank. And this would involve, for example, an injection of 7 billion reais from the Credit Guarantee Fund. We'll have to see now, with Operation Mirage, how these negotiations will proceed or not. And of course, we're following everything here in São Paulo regarding the execution of these court orders issued by the Federal Court of São Paulo. If there's any news, Matthias will be back here with an update. That's right.
And that's it. Let there be justice. If there's really any wrongdoing, may everyone be held accountable. Congressman Leonel Hadi talked about, where's Flávio, folks? Where's Flávio? He's staying quiet, now heading to the United States to destroy evidence, line up stories with his brother, and collect money from the Havergate Fund or wherever Daniel Vorcaro's millions went. Where's Andre Mendonça? Where's Tanya with the ankle monitor? Where's the passport seizure? I don't like this. I'm not satisfied with this. Oh my Jesus. Pay attention.
So this is more than a year old. And now the journalist Lauro Jardim, for those who don't remember, the journalist that Vorcaro wanted to kill.
Wow.
At least have him beaten up by a hitman. Leaked audios showed that he was organizing an attack against this journalist. So Vorcaro himself reveals that in the first half of 2025, remember that we talked about Banco Master on May 29. That is, in this first half, it was already known that Banco Master was a fraudulent bank. Vorcaro reportedly received a visit from Senator Flávio Bolsonaro alone at his mansion in Brasília, just the two of them. Lauro Jardim said that the information is confirmed and that he will provide more details about it throughout the week. And this is yet another contradiction in Flávio Bolsonaro's statements, first claiming that he didn't know Vorcaro, that he had no connection with Vorcaro, and that Vorcaro had nothing to do with the film. And as the audios were leaked by The Intercept, real information started to come out, including dinners involving Flávio Bolsonaro, Vorcaro, and the actor Jim Caviezel, who plays Bolsonaro in the film. So there were at least about 3 meetings before the one we already know about, which was confirmed by Flávio Bolsonaro in São Paulo. The day after Vorcaro was, let's say, put under house arrest with an ankle monitor after being arrested while trying to flee Brazil, Flávio Bolsonaro, the day after he was put under house arrest, went to visit him. But before that, there was this other private visit. Just the two of them in Brasília at Vorcaro's mansion, known for being the place where meetings with authorities and backroom dealings happen, according to the investigations. First day, we talked about Banco Master. Wow.
Wow. So where's Flávio to deny it? Well, if it's a lie, right? Because they say it's all a lie. So where is he? He's silent and quiet, right? Then you say Andre and Jax Wagner too. Well, Jax Wagner has to leave. Jax Wagner has to step down from the Workers' Party leadership in the Senate. He has to leave. If he doesn't leave, Lula has to remove him. There's no discussion, guys. Got it? 2 is 2, 3 is 3, and 4 is 4. And there's no discussion. If he doesn't resign, Lula must remove him. That's it. It's over. No. We have to do all 3, right? This isn't a finding of guilt. What kind of judgment is it? One aimed at preserving the office of the President of the Republic. It's that simple. I miss Flávio Dino. Do you? So I went looking for him, for Flávio Dino. And here, Flávio Dino took part in an event at the Federal University of Pará. Look at this part of his speech here. It's really nice. Play it. Dino is amazing.
This ceremony has in its
Call
the evocation of democracy, social justice, and the republic. Democracy and social justice are an inseparable marriage. Provides meaning and is both a condition and result of the other. Democracy is not a mere legal window dressing. Democracy is an organizational arrangement that has a teleology, that has a purpose. To guarantee dignity, well-being, and justice. And we, Brazilian men and women especially, need to better define this dimension of justice. It's social justice. It's the justice that seeks equality. It's the justice that brings about equality. And we in the Amazon understand well the weight of inequalities. We who represent the social sectors that have been subordinated by history and by power know very well how much this word social makes a difference. With the understanding that this justice is not just a piece of paper. This justice is not empty words written in the codes. It is a justice defined by the values of life. This ceremony in its calling evokes democracy, social justice, and the republic. Democracy and social justice are an inseparable union. It gives meaning and is both a prerequisite and result of the other.
What an eloquent man, everyone. There is no justice without democracy and without addressing social issues. And he speaks so eloquently. Wouldn't this man make a good president, everyone? 2030 will come and no one else will stand a chance. This situation, Lula attended an event in Rio de Janeiro for the first stage of the new Serra das Araras, and I picked out a bit of his speech here. Let's watch our dear Lula. While he's speaking, mark it down. Lula for a fourth win, maybe even in the first round. Let's see his speech here.
So I want you to do some research to find out if in the history of this country's republic, there has ever been a president who invested more money in Rio de Janeiro than me and President Dilma Rousseff. And you can look it up. And you can look it up. And if there was ever a president at any point in Brazil's history, I'm saying he's a ball player directly to the camera. If there was ever a player, governor, or president in this country's history who invested as much in education as we are investing, but still, study to find out if there has ever been a president who is investing more in education and health than we are investing. In fact, ask, has there ever been a president who invested more in social inclusion than what we are doing in this country? I say this with great pride. I say this with great pride because I know Brazil, and in any state of Brazil governor, in any state of Brazil, with any governor from any political party, I doubt it, that any governor has received more help from any president than they did during President Lula and Dilma's administration. I doubt it. You can even ask Zecera, who was the governor of São Paulo. You can ask Alckmin, my current vice president, and ask who invested more money in São Paulo. Was it the governors before or after Lula and Dilma? For a very simple reason. The country can't be rich while the states are poor. The second reason is that the country can't be rich while the cities are poor. It's in the city where the people live. Yesterday, I went to a place called Jardim Maravilha. Has anyone ever heard of it? Someone who lives in Jardim Maravilha takes 2 hours by bus to get to downtown Rio de Janeiro. 2 hours. A rich person from São Paulo gets to Copacabana Beach in Rio before a poor person from Jardim Maravilha does. Despite living in Rio de Janeiro, the poor person from Jardim Maravilha, well, look, because poor people were driven out. They were pushed away. They kept being pushed farther and farther away. And they're farther and farther away. So we tried to make it so that I can tell you. I doubt there's ever been a government in Brazil's history that invested more in urban recovery than what we're doing. And so
I picked out this part. That's why the market and the elite, yes, the elite, don't like Lula. It's because Lula includes the poor and the workers in the federal public budget. And when Lula includes the poor and the workers in the federal budget, he has to take it from someone. And who does he take it from? From the elite and the upper class. That's why they want so badly to bring Lula down. Do you understand? Because Lula doesn't understand. Lula sees it this way. This is his perspective. Lula understands that when he includes poor people in the budget, that's not debt, that's not an expense, that's an investment. Including the poor and workers in the budget gives them better education. That's the idea. Better healthcare, better conditions and opportunities to grow, to get a job, and in this way generate income and keep the economic cycle moving. But not the elite. The elite thinks that including the poor in the budget is a debt. Oh, it's a debt. Oh, it's an expense. Why? Because they want everything just for themselves. They want everything for themselves, including exemptions and subsidies, loans, anything. Then for them, everything is allowed, millions and millions and millions, billions. When it's for the poor, suddenly it's called debt. Then they say Brazil will go bankrupt, repeating it over and over. And Lula doesn't see it that way. Lula believes that investing in the poorest and in workers is giving them an opportunity to grow. And that way it generates income. Once they get training and a job, they will generate income. They'll go to the supermarket, they'll buy things, and they'll boost the economy. And that's why the elite doesn't want Lula. Exactly because Lula includes the poor in the budget. And the barons and the rich, they don't want that. The rich people don't want to share the airports with the poor. They don't want to. Unless it's for you to clean their floors and their bathrooms at the airport and everywhere else. The elite doesn't want poor people in universities in the same environments. They only want it for themselves. They want to hold on to cultural capital. They want to hold on to political and economic power. You are poor, a worker. You will only serve one purpose, to generate wealth, to produce wealth, and not enjoy that wealth. Just leave it for them. And a left-wing government tries to change exactly that perspective, creating a more favorable environment so that you, poor and working class, can grow, can evolve, and enter those spaces that until now belong to the elite and the middle class. That's why there's so much hatred toward the left. That's why they make things up saying the left is from the devil, it's demonic, the left is this, the left is that. Then I use the religious fundamentalism of these hypocrites, right? Of the true Sadducees and Pharisees who use religious fundamentalism through favors and shady deals arranged in back rooms, right? And in rooms locked up tight, inside religious temples to set things up to manipulate the masses. And the far right knows how to do that. And that's why our fight is so big, it's so huge, because it's against all of that. It's against lies, it's against fake news, it's against misinformation, it's against prejudice, it's against religious fundamentalism that keeps manipulating people. And our fight is huge. Every time you like the live, YouTube recommends it to more people so we can reach more people. Every time you share, every time you comment there yourself, that's why we have to stay engaged together in this daily fight for freedom, for democracy, for respect, and always for equality and dignity. Not just for them, but for us too. Kisses, smash that like button and share. Much love. Thank you.